The last lesson video is putting everything together and solving problems using acute triangles, solving problems using sine law, cosine law, and sometimes those grade 10 things pop up as well. So what I know or need to know is a really important idea on what one of the laws or basic trig ratio is SOHCAHTOA I use. So here's a table, and have a look through it. It reviews what we've done so far in this unit. And then on the very bottom, drawing a picture is always a good idea, and hopefully you've seen that in doing the homework assignments for this unit. So let's do two problems really quickly, and then I'll have you finish off the rest of the unit. So here's the first one. It emphasizes the importance of drawing a picture and understanding the vocabulary. A kayak leaves Rankin's Inlet and heads due east. Due east means exactly east for 5 kilometers. At the same time, a second kayak travels in a direction south 60 degrees east from Rankin's Inlet for 4 kilometers. And the question is asking, how far are they apart? So the first thing we want to do is, again, to sketch a little bit of a picture using the compass, and I'll draw the two kayaks. So the first one goes due east. So again, basically what they're doing is they're traveling right that way for 5 kilometers. I'm not going to put the units right now. And then their second kayak is going to travel south 60 degrees east. So they're going to travel, again, this is just a sketch. So they're going to travel south 60 degrees to the east for 4 kilometers. And then finally, the question is simply asking, how far are they apart? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use that picture, and I'm going to get rid of the compass direction and simply amalgamate it into a nice little triangle. And here's what it looks like. And I'm going to label what I know. Now, the important thing that you recognize is we do know that angle right there. That angle is 30 degrees. So make sure you understand why that angle is 30 degrees. And I'm going to call this angle A. So again, in looking at this problem, you've drawn the picture, you've put on the important information, and what pops out is cosine law. What I know two sides and the angle in between. That says the cosine law. And again, your letters really don't matter, but given that I used big A, I guess I should call this little a for the distance between, then here is going to be my formula. And hopefully you've used this a bit, and it's kind of in your head, but if it's not, don't worry, you don't have to memorize it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to plug in, and in this form of the cosine law, this is where your calculator is super good, because all we're going to do is we're going to plug in all that information. Sorry, that's a 4. We're going to plug in all that information and simply ask our calculator to do the answer. So we could plug it all in, and I've done that, and here's what I end up with. When you add that all together on your calculator, you get 6.539, but remember, that's what a squared is equal to, and we want to know what a is equal to, so we simply take the square root and we get 2.5. So at that precise time, those two kayaks are 2.5 kilometers apart, and we use the cosine law based on what I know. Just one more example where, again, the value of a picture. So, your picture doesn't have to be fantastic. It can even be a little sketch. But I'm just going to kind of draw a rough little drawing to illustrate what's happening. And here's our building. And then we have a crane on top of the building. So that's what's happening. And I know that my building is 27 meters high. And it says, from a point on the ground, the angle of elevation to the top of the building is 32 degrees. Remember, angle of elevation is always to the horizontal. So there is, if you're on the ground and you looked up to the top of the building, that's what it would be. And if you looked up to the top of the crane, well, your head would be arching higher, and this angle right here would be 43 degrees. So that's what our picture looks like. Now what the question is asking is, well, how far is this thing away from this point is away from the building. So in looking at drawing the picture, you have to be careful to realize what you need and what you don't need. And what you don't need is you don't need the information about the crane. Really, all we need from this picture is this piece of information right here. That's 32. That's the distance I want to know. And that's 27 right there. And if you look at that, you have a right triangle, you have the opposite, you have the angle, and you want the adjacent side. And what that tells us is we want the tangent ratio. So the tangent of 32 is equal to the side opposite over the side adjacent. And hopefully we remember how to solve these grade 10 problems. We did them at the very start of the unit. And the way we do this is we simply interchange these two. And again, if you don't feel comfortable with tan 32, you push that button, you enter it as a decimal on your calculator. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug it in exactly as we see it. So we're going to have 27 divided by the tangent of 32. And we're just going to hit enter. And my calculator says 43.2. And 43.2 in this case would be meters.